So this video is about checking tracking weights using an old mechanical tracking force gauge. The way that this works is if you take a look at the gauge itself, it has a pivot point, a fulcrum at which it will pivot. On this side of the gauge is the side where you rest the needle or the stylus needle, and it'll have 2 points, 2 vertical lines. The first line is for single multiplication, meaning that if you take a look at the scale, then that represents grams of tracking force, and it's 1 times whatever the reading is there. So it's 1 times 0.75 or 1 times 1 gram or 1 times 1.25 grams when you place the needle at that first stylus point. The second vertical line is if you have a particularly heavy cartridge with a heavy tracking force, and what you need to do is multiply that by 2. So what you can do is let's say you have a cartridge which goes above this 1.5 gram scale. Let's say it's 2 grams. Yeah. So what you can do is you can rest the stylus needle at this second vertical line. So you drop the needle directly onto that second line, and what you would do is you would look for the weight or the balance to apply at that 1 gram mark multiplied by the 2. And I'll give you a demonstration now. So you take this stylus gauge, you place one end, the grooved notched end, over the spindle here. You line up the stylus gauge, and then what you would do is you see this little metal brackets. So what you would do is you'd place the metal brackets at the point where you require to measure the weight, your required tracking force weight. Now I've got a tracking force on my stylus needle of about 1.8 grams. So what I would need to do is I'd need to take this these brackets and take the notch and align it with 0.9, so 0.75, 8, 8.5, 9. It'll be that line there. That line represents 0.9 grams, and then when you rest the needle onto that second vertical groove, it will be 0.9 grams multiplied by 2, i.e. 1.8 grams. So it should, because I've already pre-measured this, it should rest, the stylus needle should rest onto the gauge and then should be in balance. So you can see here that the weight or measure end has now lifted and it is in perfect balance, meaning that the measure which I've set it at, i.e. 0.9 grams, and then resting the stylus at the 2 times the scale stylus point, means that 2 times 0.9 grams, 1.8, which is exactly what the tracking force on this particular cartridge is. And what you would do is you take those brackets, move them along either up or down depending on what your desired tracking force is, and then you would rest the needle on either the 1 times or the 2 times measure for the stylus, and then drop the stylus and make the relevant adjustments. Now if your measure or your weight is out and you need to either increase or decrease the stylus weight onto the record, what you would do is you would go back to the counterweight at the back of your tone arm, and that's this counterweight here, and adjust that either clockwise or anti-clockwise, experimenting to see at which point the weight is correct for your particular cartridge.